And in fact, let me help everybody out here, because this will encourage you, because this is the process. Moses knew the ways of God, and sometimes we're trying to get somewhere, but we don't know God's ways. And so one of the main, not that God's confined to doing everything always the same way, but biblically speaking, we can see throughout so many examples that God, he develops trust within his servants or his friends or his vessels. And so, to whom much is given, much is required, and so if you're faithful in little, you'll be faithful in much. And so to he who has, more will be given. To he who has not, even what he has will be taken from him. So what God does, and he's so faithful. Listen to this. God, he doesn't, sometimes people think that God's like the thief. He just comes to steal. It's like, no, this is the devil's identity.
Yeah.
The devil takes what we have. God doesn't. He wants to give us his kingdom. He wants to grow us. He wants to mature us. He wants to expand us. The kingdom of God is an expansive kingdom. It's not getting smaller. It's getting bigger, and it's advancing. It's leaven. It's leavening the whole lump. And so God is not intending to keep you in a confined place where you're meant for more, but he doesn't allow you to go into the greater without learning some stewardship and faithfulness in the smaller. And that's why he says, don't despise the small beginnings. Don't despise these humble places. Why? Because these are the testing grounds for promotion.
Amen.
God's saying, don't despise them. He goes, yeah, it doesn't look fancy. Yeah, it stinks for a little bit. Yeah, it's not fun, or you know what I mean? No, it does not come with a lot of fanfare. But in this place, your character is really sharpened. You get it has to become about Christ and him alone, because you don't know how long you're going to be in that place until God says, nope, now it's time to move beyond this measure, these boundary lines. And so, and the reason that he has to do that also is because when you're given more responsibility, with the responsibility comes his authority. And authority is very, it's great, but it's also dangerous, because with your authority, you can hurt many people. And that's why God is saying, I have to test you in the small places, the humble places, to see if you can be trustworthy with this. Because if you're trustworthy with this, I know, according to his word, I know you'll be trustworthy with the larger things. So I guess that is a way to say that this is God's ways. He finds you. And now look, he does this too. If you've ever found yourself, which I have, I've found myself repeatedly walking around the same mountains over and over, saying, and God saying, you didn't learn that quite as well as you needed to. So let's just walk around this again.
Yeah, we're gonna go one more time.
And he's really not in a rush like we are. God's not in a rush to make us something before we're ready to handle it. And so I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm being preachy on this, but
don't, dude.
I just feel like this is real talk.
Yeah.
Like we don't talk a lot about these realities. I feel like in the church, we don't talk about these testing grounds,
dude,
but they are essential. They're significant and essential. Let's just be honest and say, how destructive has it been on the name of Christ and for his kingdom purposes by people coming into too much responsibility too quickly, and they bypass their testing seasons. And what happens? They're found unfaithful. And with that, it puts a blight on the name of the Lord. And he's saying, this is why my daughter asks I shouldn't tell on her, but my kids, I'll say it this way. I tell my kids, my daughter asks, Dad, if I take something away that I feel like, hey, you don't need this right now, or something like that. Like, Dad, don't you trust me, or whatever? I'm like, well, I trust you, but I don't trust the devil. and I know how the devil works. And so I'm going to be having a watchful eye to see how well you do with this season of time where you're limited in your freedom.
Mhm.
And God does the same thing. So